Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the British Tier 8 Premium Heavy Tank, the Charlemagne. Yeah, the British Heavy Tank with a French name. Work that one out. But yeah, the Charlemagne. It's a tank that, funnily enough, I really like. I really like the Charlemagne because number one, it's got a big slapping gun. I love the gun on this tank. It's got 440 alpha at tier 8, which is absolutely juicy. It does have a fair few drawbacks to that, though. What are they? Well, naturally, it's got 3.5 second aim time, which is awful. But the dispersions in general on the gun aren't that bad. So the gun never actually blooms out that much at all. So the 3.5 aim time is something you generally don't notice. Because even though, obviously, it does take a long time to aim in, because your gun bloom isn't massive, your gun just it feels like it's aimed in most of the time anyway, which is decent. It's got 0.44 accuracy as well on the gun, which is pretty poor at distance. And to add to that 0.44 accuracy, and that, well, I mean, 0.44 at distance for a heavy tank, naturally, it's a bit of a brawler, so it's going to be a bit closer than your average tank. But yeah, and the other thing that adds to that derpiness of the gun is the shell velocity, because randomly the shell velocity is awful. I mean, it is a called 120mm low velocity gun, but the shell velocity on the standard round is 597 as opposed to the 924 of the premium round. Why the premium round is so much quicker than the standard round, I'll never know. That just leads to the fact that most people that get this tank will probably end up spanking the premium. It does have pretty good penetration though, with 220 on the standard, which is enough to face most of the tanks you're going to face at tier 8, and you'll be able to deal with tier 9s with 220 pen, but when you get to tier 10s and a lot of the heavy tanks of tier 9s, you can just load the 270 APCR pen, which will butcher a fair few of the tanks, so you're okay in that regard anyway, because 270 pen on a premium round for a tier 8 is really, really nice. But you do have to put up with that really bad shell velocity when you're firing at range. It means you really do have to lead the shells to make sure that you're going to be hitting the enemies, even at short range, really. You do notice that shell velocity being just so poor. You do have 10 degrees of gun depression, though, and 10 degrees of gun depression on the Charlemagne is pretty nice, because as you can see on Prokhorovka, it means you can work ridge lines like a beautiful thing, and you can just start putting the hurt in on the ridge lines. Add to that your armour. The armour on the Charlemagne is weird. It's a funky tank, because the lower plate is a complete bait. If you're shooting at a Charlemagne, you're probably more likely to go through the upper plate than the lower plate, because the lower plate's angled in such a way that it's like almost an auto ricochet, and it tends to be really, really strong, whereas the upper plate tends to be the weakness, really, for the Charlemagne. But it's only really a weakness against higher tier tanks, realistically, because the front of the Charlemagne is, like, it's just a weird tank in the terms of how its armour performs, because the Charlemagne frontally is about 220 effective. And if you're angling and stuff like that, because you've got kind of a pike nose, it goes down to as low as like 210. If you're facing someone, say you're facing someone and they can see your right hand side of the pike nose, it'll go down to like 210 effective. But then the other side will be an auto ricochet or really strong. But the lower plate just stays really strong at like 240 to 250 effective all the time. And that means that people will try and shoot your lower plate, and they'll just ricochet, and they'll be like, how am I ricocheting off the lower plate? And realistically, they should have been shooting the upper plate. But because your upper plate is so good, generally, it tends to be that your own tier 8, tends to struggle to pen this thing frontally, unless they hit the cupola on top of the turret. And then the higher tiers you face, the more likely they are to go through your upper armour, pretty much. But your turret armour is solid as well. The turret armour on the tank is basically bouncy, but not infallible. So when you're on a ridgeline, again, if you keep yourself moving up and down on a ridgeline and making it as hard as possible for people to get shots on your turret, you can bounce a lot of shots with the turret. But don't just poke up in front of someone like a Cranvarn, for example. You know, don't be like a Cranvarn where you can just poke up and then sit there staring at someone, because they still will probably likely hit your turret and pen it if you're not careful. So what do I run in terms of a crew on the Charlemagne? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanic, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Off-Road Driving. pretty typical heavy tank crew for this, for a heavy tank. It's my template heavy tank crew. And that is because off-road driving helps with the ground resistances, helps me get to my top speed as easy as possible. Because this thing does only have a 35 km/h top speed, so I do want to try and hit it if I can. And then all the gun perks to make this derpy-ass gun just that little bit better and more usable, generally. So that, you know, you're not struggling with it. And as you've seen with the gun, we did a full swivel there, full tank rotation, turret rotation, and looking at the gun. You just did it again. And look how little the gun has actually bloomed out. A fair few guns will have a massive, massive reticle on the middle of the screen, and then you've got to watch it zoom in slowly but surely to get the shot in. That's not something that the Charlemagne suffers from. And like I say, that means that something like a 3.5 second aim time just feels a little bit negated by that. In terms of equipment, by the way, I do run rammer, well, the advanced loader, vertical stabilizers, and optics. Advanced loader, so I can get 10% better DPM, as always, or better reload. Vertical stabilizers to make sure that this gun is as good as it can be, because you just need to do that. And then optics to be able to spot for myself in a game, so that I'm not suffering from blindness, pretty much. But this tank does have 380 meters view range, which is pretty good for a heavy tank, but I do want to make that better so I'm not getting out-spotted too easily. So as you can see in this first game on Prokhorovka, it's been a bit of a patience battle. We've managed to get 2,000 damage so far with 323 assistance. And yeah, like I say, it's been patience. We've had to be patient. And that is the thing with Prokhorovka. You can't be too aggressive. You can't push too soon. You do have to be patient and wait for the opportunities for you to get the damage in. As you can see, we're starting to get damage in now on the people that are getting spotted at places like A6 or down the 2 line. And we have the premium loaded at the minute so that we can guaranteed go through some of these tier 10s and not have a problem. And I decide, okay, you know what? Now that T58 Heavy's gone from A6, I'm going to poke over this ridgeline and start getting shots into the 430U. I'm going to keep the rock on my left-hand side so that anything that was on about B2 can't have shots at me, and I can stay safe from them. The 704 gets spotted from the back, and I decide, okay, this 704 just got spotted. We've got a medium tank moving down there. I'm just going to drive in now. We're going to drive in and see if we can spot the enemy tanks. And we do end up spotting the Griller. And we get a nice shot into the Griller on the move. We've now found this Emil 2. So we're just going to stop a second, pop a shot straight through the Emil 2's drive wheel, keep him tracked. He ends up penning us there, and thankfully for me, I end up getting unspotted. And we get all of the tracking on that Emil 2, so thank you to him for not repairing. And the game is just over just like that. And we finish the game with 1 kill, 4.2k damage, 2.4k assistance, the ace tanker, the Confederate, 1944 base XP, a really nice game for the Charlemagne in a tier 10 game. And yeah, if you can keep the gun going and just... This is the one thing that I like about the Charlemagne as well, because even though I'm in a tier 10 game, I feel like I'm capable. Sure, my DPM is complete trash. Like, the reload is slow. It's so slow. But 440 Alpha is a nice level for trading. It means that you can quite easily trade with people. Like, I can poke over and think, oh, you know what, I might take 300 damage from an object 140 on a ridgeline if he pens my turret, but I'll poke over and I'll shoot him for 440, that's fine. He may fire faster than me, but if I can limit the engagement to making sure that they're not... Well, we're not in a DPM war, which is what you want to be trying to do, we're all gravy, baby, and we'll be okay. So we're on to the second replay. In the second replay, we are on Nebelberger. Yes, we're on Nebelberg. And I'm going to come to this little position here at E5, because it's a pretty nice position for getting some early shots at people that come through the middle if they decide to. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It depends on how the enemy team tries to play it. And the first tank we found is a T57 Heavy, who is sitting, waiting for us to give him a shot. And thankfully, he's just sitting there, which is giving us a juicy shot through the sides of his turret. We get a shot through the side of the turret of the T57 Heavy, putting us on to 860 damage. We're just trying to get the shot through the T77. Unfortunately, we bounce off the side of the T77's turret, going through the destructible cover. And then a tree starts to go down. I think that tree's just gone down. Is that the T57 Heavy, or is that the Eradicator that's not down? The T57 Heavy is on top of the ridgeline. We chance it. We bounce, hit the T57 Heavy off our turret front, and we pen him through his turret cheek. Like I say, the turret on this Charlemagne is pretty damn solid. It bounces a fair old amount. If you... Again, it's one of those cases of don't rely on it solely where you're going to sit there going, haha, I can bounce everything. Don't do that because it's not going to work. But you can bounce shots. So as you can see, this SU-101 is charging into us, and it's like, oh god, here we go. Thankfully, he's bounced off us. I think that's the stock gun on that SU-101. And he bounced, and we managed to get him shut down, / my friend shuts him down. The T-77s come in. We end up getting shot by the heavy tank behind. Thankfully, we get a shot for 502. That's a nice roll through the side of the T-77. He's trying to come round us. Again, thankfully, our friend in the Stone Cold ends up shutting him down from our island. Now the Eradicator's in, it's like, hello, Mr. Eradicator. We pop a shot through his drive wheel, damages his ammo rack, because what you want to do is try and limit the ability of the enemy tank to run away. Even though we've got slow DPM, it's for the best. It means we get more chances to get shots in. And we managed to get another shot through the side of this Eradicator Carnarvon. Now he's loaded, he's coming for us, and once again I'm kind of like, friend, help me. We're angling as much as we can. He ends up penning us through the side. I'm trying to use the dead rack as best as I can, and thankfully the Stone Cold ends up shutting down the Eradicator. We see the T-57 Heavy has actually run away, so he's not engaging us any longer. The E4 is above us, dealing with the tanks on the hill. We load premium because we see what's up there. There's an E4 up there, and there's that ST1. I'm not guaranteed to deal with the ST1 with AP, so we load the APCR just to make sure that we're going to deal with it. We get up behind the T-57 Heavy, though, because we sniffed the opportunity to get rid of a Tier 10 heavy tank, and there goes that guy. Now there's the Badger focusing RTD. I'm thinking, can I get a shot at this Badger? Oh, I can. Nice. So just waiting for the reload, slap the shot into the side of this Badger, damaging his ammo rack, helping our friend as much as possible. I'm like, oh, God, that's an AVRE. That could hurt. I don't like that. And I'm thinking, what do I do right now? We're up to 4.6k damage. We're having a very good game. We poke out to see if we can get a shot into the Badger to help our Sturm Tiger out, but the Sturm Tiger ends up shutting him down. And I'm thinking, what do I do? Do I go forward and try and push towards their cap and get behind them? There could be something quite easily at J3, though, which makes me hesitate. So we're going to drive forward and see what we can do, but we do get spotted, and I'm like, okay, no, I'm not doing that. We just got lit up. I ain't doing that. And just as we start to run backwards, the E4 charges out. E4, the ST1's going in, and the other heavy tank's also going in to get shots into it. So we're going to try our best to pop the shots into these guys and try and get rid of them. So we get a shot into the ST1, which puts him down to a one-shot. The AVRE's here, the other heavy tank's here. Thankfully, the E4 shut down the ST1. Now we need to try and get some damage into this E4 to try and whittle him down. We damage his ammo rack and pen him through the side. And now I'm thinking at this point, yeah, no, I'm probably screwed. And we're kind of like, help me, TD and S Stone Cold, please. We get a shot through the drive wheel of the E4 because we have to track this guy to basically stop him from coming towards us, because naturally he doesn't have a turret, or he doesn't have a fully traversable turret. So if we manage to track him in place and stop him, we have a better chance of getting away from his gun and surviving. So we end up getting a shot into his drive wheel. He repairs. I'm thinking, come on, reload, come on, reload, come on, reload. Please let me get this guy. And thankfully, we get a shot straight through the side of this T110E4. Good night, sweet prince. And I'm thinking, well, where's the AVRE gone? Oh, he's over there. If that AVRE hadn't run away and gone chasing after the SU-130PM, I probably would have died, because he would have ganged up on me with the E4, and it would not have gone well. But naturally, we used the ability of this tank to, well, because this tank has good alpha, it's got good module damage. It means that if you do go for the tracks on someone, you're going to blow them off first time. And that's exactly what we did to that E4. Because he doesn't have a fully traversable turret, we made sure that we blew his tracks off, and then we could get around him and, again, keep away from his gun. We end up getting spotted and detected here, and this is where the AVRE is a pain in the ass, because he's got good camo, as well as good armour and a fantastic gun. So we can't spot him. He's spotted us, and I'm not risking it for a biscuit right now. It's just, we're not going to die at this point. But he's running after our artillery. I want more damage from this game, because we're at 6.8k damage with 772 assistance. I want to try and make, well, see if we can get some more. The Stone Cold's going in on this AVRE, so I'm like, right, okay, we're gonna help this AVRE, well, this Stone Cold against this AVRE if we can, and that way we'll get some damage. Currently, there's two guys in the cap, so even if this guy now kills us, it's like, hey, well, whatever, because we're still going to win. The Stone Cold gets 2 shots into the aviary. We're putting ourselves into a position where we can get a shot in. We put a shot straight through the side of this aviary, and at this point, it's like, well, one of us is dying here, unless we cap. Maybe we cap. We're going to try and get under his gun line as much as possible, and we do end up capping the game. And we finish the game with a really nice, well, a fantastic total for a tier 8 tank in a tier 10 game. And we finished with the victory, 2 kills, 7.2k damage, 772 assistance, the ace tanker, the sniper, the high caliber, 2.5k base XP, an absolutely fantastic game for the Charlemagne, which is a tier 8 British heavy tank that I really like. I really like this heavy tank. I like how hard it hits. I like how the armour treats itself. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea because of the shell velocity, but it's just one of those tanks that I do enjoy. So as everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!